Someone You Should Know, a program about people you know and even more that you don't. Hosted by Stuart Sax, veteran, husband, father, and grandfather. Now, here's your host, Stuart Sax.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Someone You Should Know. Very glad you're with us today. I think you're going to enjoy today's conversation, and you probably will learn something very valuable from it. Whether you are a student, a parent, a grandparent, there's something to be learned from today's show. And we are brought to you by our good friend, Christine Dean, who affectionately is the networking diva. Now, I talk about her every episode, and there is a reason, because Christine is a master at social media. Whether you are interested in improving your website, if you are interested in expanding your network of clients, interaction with your clients and beyond, you need to have someone like Christine Dean on your side, because she is there to help you move forward with your presence in social media. Christine Dean, reach out to her. She'll give you a free consultation. She is thenetworkingdiva.com. Christine Dean, thank you for all you do and all you do for me and for this show. I thank you very, very much. Well, you all know that I am very, very passionate about education. And I was in education decades and decades and decades ago as a student, and then also actually as an adjunct invitee at the local college for a while. And I have seen over the decades a change in education, as I'm sure most of you have also. And today I have an expert in education who has spent her entire career in education, and the title of her newest book is Why Good Kids Get Bad Grades. And boy, if that isn't just right between the eyes. So I welcome Dr. Linda Silbert to the show. Dr. Silbert, may I call you Linda?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, I want to kind of get that out of the way right from the get-go, this idea of why good kids get bad grades. And I have opinions on why, but I am going to put it in the lap of a professional first, as to those that are watching, and those that follow this show are from their teens to their 80s and beyond, is why are kids today getting bad grades?
Thank you for inviting me onto your show, and I'd love to share why. And I have this book that we just wrote, Why Good Kids Get Bad Grades. And this means, when we say good kids, we mean every level, whether a child is struggling in school, whether a child is a straight A student usually, and all of a sudden they're dropping. It's all kids. Why would kids get bad grades? The reason we wrote this, I'm saying we, my husband and myself, we both have been in education forever. And what has happened, we have seen most parents and most teachers will usually react by saying, well, they didn't study. They just didn't study. Okay. By the way, they don't know how, but I'll get into that soon. Okay. They'll say, okay, oh, now you're grounded. And now I'm taking away the phone. That's it. And parents react, a knee-jerk reaction without fail, and they feel they're getting control of the situation by doing something punitive. The entire book is, why do these good kids get bad grades? They want that 100 as much as you do or more. They want that gold star. And there are so many reasons, and the parents must do their homework and find the cause. And that's the problem, because most parents react very quickly. That's it. I know why they're not getting, I didn't get good grade. Look into it. There's always a reason behind it.
Is it fair to say that because I remember growing up, when I got home from school, before my sister and I could sit down to watch a little bit of television, whatever, you went into the den in our house and you did your homework.
Yeah.
And we had homework. But today's kids, I'm not sure I know the reason why. For instance, my grandson, who does get good grades, he's a good student. But very often I say to him, do you have homework this weekend? No, he doesn't have homework because everything has been preloaded onto a tablet for the students, and they do all of their work at school. So what that indicates to me is now the parents are disconnected from the children's learning, because if they're learning everything in school and they have nothing at home, what do they have to share with their parents?
Again, that's really interesting. Now, it's not around the country. Some schools, but many of them give too much homework. Too many kids have too much. So it all depends, the school, the teacher in that school, it all depends, that combination. But most of the time, I'm just going to go into the 4 basic reasons. And one is, and they may have a physical problem. It could be they need glasses. They have a hearing loss and no one picked it up because it's so slight. And now you're getting into higher grades and they can't pick up the language. Okay, it could be a language processing issue. There are so many physical. They could have ADHD. Okay, they could be hungry. They could be tired. There are so many kids now suffering from just exhaustion. They're going to sleep too late. They're not getting enough hours of sleep, especially the teenagers. Okay, so there are, I mean, it goes on and on. We have an entire section just on the physical reasons. Then we also have the educational reasons. They could be in the wrong class. They were put into a class that was too high for them, too low for them. They could be in with a teacher that teaches only through auditory, blah, 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 and they're visual learners. It could be the wrong school. Okay, you have to look into the educational reasons also. There's also the social reasons. Kids, sometimes they go to school and they're afraid there's a bully in the school. There's fear, there's social, and especially by middle school and high school. Well, the girls, they ate lunch and they didn't ask me to eat lunch. So now their whole day is consumed. Will they talk to me today? Will the girls talk? And social media has crept in. And that's why we came out with the second book. We had another book in the year 2007, Why Bad Grades Happen to Good Kids. And it was half the size.
Reverse.
Yep. And now we switched it to Why Good Kids Get Bad Grades, because we felt it was more positive. And also we doubled the size of the book, because what happened after the pandemic, there are kids educationally that don't have the base. You don't know how many kids now cannot read and forget writing. Absolutely cannot write. We're working with kids. Right now, we have a learning center we're north of New York City, and we have it in the whole county. We have tutors going. They cannot write because they're only on their tablets. They're only on their Chromebooks. We have many districts now who are throwing away the Chromebooks. Thank goodness, because they need to learn how to write.
And was the Chromebook really came into favor in the school systems because of the pandemic, because the students could not physically go to school, so they were interacting virtually with their classes. I know our grandson for a long while was just virtual. Then it became half and half. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he was virtually and sometimes he was at school. But you're absolutely right. It just put a crutch on a child's ability to learn during and after the pandemic.
Yes. Oh my goodness, what it's done. The reading and writing, and you need that to go into history and science.
That's basic education. That's basic education.
It's basic. And the schools are inundated with all these kids who are struggling And I hate to say the classes are too big and the money is too small. And they don't have the money to go around to help everybody. And there are so many kids struggling right now. And I put it under education, under that category, but it's because of the pandemic. And
Yeah.
then the Chromebooks. I have so many students right now locally that's working in our company. These kids are coming there, they cannot physically write. We're teaching them printing, teaching them cursive. They've actually done a study, which is interesting, in a college where they took 3 groups of students and they had them take notes. One group took notes printing, one group took notes using cursive, one group took notes on their laptops. The students who did the cursive, used the cursive, got higher grades and it remained longer. Because
Really?
you use more brain cells doing cursive. Isn't that interesting? Then
Yeah.
the second was printing, because you're using more brain cells. The third category, the kids who did the worst, were the ones who used their laptop. You're not using enough brain cells.
Well, not only that, but the laptop also has spell check.
Mhm.
So that aspect of are you using proper English and proper punctuation, that kind of falls by the wayside because the computer is correcting it for you.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
a point that you brought up earlier was that today, in many cases, a lot of students are going into classes that are, and I remember in college, there were 200 students in the class, and and with a last name of S, you know where I was sitting. I
Yeah.
would and I could not see the board at the front of the class or the lecture hall. I couldn't hear the professor. I was always struggling to try and keep up that way. And it was because my last name was higher in the alphabet. The students that start, where their names were A's and B's, they were sitting in the front rows. They had a captive audience with the professors. Now, in many cases, we went through a cycle in the middle and high schools where there was overcrowding in a lot of those classes, and
Mhm.
all that in some cases got mandated through the parent teachers organizations and through the states that started to limit the schools. But it didn't completely solve the problem, because the other issue that we had when we were growing up
Mhm.
was when we went to school, we usually had a morning study hall and an afternoon study hall hour. That's when you did some of your homework and some of your preparation for your tests,
Mhm.
and worked on some of your scripts and things that you had to turn in. When schools got overcrowded, they eliminated study hall.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
where did the study time go? Well, that was going to be done at home. Who was going to make sure the student was going to use that study time at home? If it was a 1 or 2 person parent household and both were working, who was going to oversee the study? And how, this is my biggest question, how involved are parents today in their child's education?
That is an interesting question, because I think parents feel they're involved, but parents are so stressed right now. The
Right.
parents are so stressed just running to work. They're trying to fit everything in. The child is kind of on the outside looking in, trying to get this homework done, and the parent will come home from work and trying to get dinner set up. Not only that, they are so overbooked. They go from soccer to football to dance to music to therapists to every. They have all the. I once had a mother call me, and she said, "My son is not doing well. 6th grader, 12 years old. Okay,
Okay.
6th grader." And she said the only time he's available for tutoring was between 6 and 7 on Friday night. And I
Well, that,
said to her on the phone, I said, I own the tutoring center. I would love your
excuse
business.
me, Friday night is sports night at most
Friday
schools.
night. Okay.
Yeah,
And I said to her, I said, I will take your money, but I'm not going to let you come here for tutoring. If the only time he's available is from 6 to 7 on Friday night, you don't need tutoring. You've got to
that
figure
means
out your schedule.
yeah. That means that parent has not put education high enough on the priority list.
Yep.
And to be involved. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that far too many parents today just say that the school is where the kid goes to get education, and it removes me from the equation. Just leave the education, and then if the child doesn't get good grades, who gets blamed? It's the school's fault for not educating my child.
Yep.
And I say to the parents that are watching and listening to Dr. Silbert and myself right now, no. The onus is on you. You have to take a more active role in your child's upbringing to know what is going on.
Yep.
And one or the other parent has got to go to those parent-teacher meetings and everything to find out what's going on. Because when the teacher says to the parent, if your child would just apply themselves, you've heard this because I heard it when I was growing up. If Stuart would just sit down and apply himself, he would get better grades. Well, then my mother was a little bit more available than my father. She was the one that made sure to sit down and look over my shoulder to see what I was studying and offer some assistance. But I did. If I could get away with not studying and just cramming at the last minute for tests, that was okay by me, but it wasn't okay with my parents, and it certainly wasn't okay with my educators.
Yeah. And you know what? And it's normal. A child,
Yes.
children are children. That's why they're called children. They want to play. Okay. They want, and they're good at it. And they need to play those younger years, those formative years. That's how they start becoming part of society, by playing. That is part of child development. So it's wonderful. And only have homework first grade. I always say 10 minutes. That's it. Go play. Second grade, another 10 minutes. Third grade, just keep adding 10 minutes every year.
Great.
And
Okay.
Okay.
Good equation.
It's a good, you kind of, it balances it out so they can come home, kind of refresh what happened today in school. You go over it. Because if you notice, most kids come home from school. How was school? Good.
Yeah.
What'd you do? I don't know.
Yeah.
They will not know. I remember when I taught, saying at the end of every day, saying, let's just take this last 10 minutes. What did we do today? Even with the tutoring one-to-one, the kids will come in and the parents come in and go, so what happened? I don't know. So personally, when I tutor a child, I have the parents sit with me. And they go, what? This was their free time. I want those parents there. I'm only with them an hour once a week. I want them to model what I'm doing. I want them to see what's happening so that they are involved.
Yeah, we have been scrolling your website and all, which is stronglearning.com. Folks, if necessary, jot it down on a pad of paper, and I invite you to go to the website because there's a lot of information there that you can find. And then also, if you want to, you can reach out to Dr. Linda, and if you have questions. This is, we are into July right now, while folks are watching this show. And you have a program that's coming up this month that is available to people nationwide. And here it is. It's a free parent course this July. And it starts in about a week. And I urge people, go in and check on it. And whether you need it or not, if it's free and it's an option for you to make the interaction with your child better, for them to become a better student, sign up. It's a virtual you don't have to, be living in New York to go. You can sit in the comfort of your home and you can learn how to be a better parent and interact with your child. So you don't have to ask why, good kids get bad grades. You can learn how to bridge that gap. And I applaud you for doing something like that, because it's something that I think parents need. Certainly, as children get into their high school years, it's something that they can benefit from, and it's something that can you right there on the screen. It talks about those children that have dyslexia, that maybe are ADHD. If they have some learning issues, why just shelve it? Or why not say to your student, well, I'm going to have to get you medical help. Sometimes it's educational help that can help them. And I applaud you for this program that you're doing this month. And how many years have you been doing this?
Oh my goodness. 50, over 50 years. 50 years. Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are people that are watching and listening saying, wow, that's great. And it's something that's been around and I never knew anything about it. If you research it and look, you can find that there are ways that you can interact with your student to make them a better student.
Yeah, because there's always a reason. There's always a reason. Just find it, and become their ally, not the adversary. Become their ally, because they are so used to putting up a wall or a little shell around themselves when they see themselves falling. And the poor kids don't know what to do. I once had a student say to me, they keep telling me to do better, that I could do better. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. But they don't explain to me how.
How? What do I do? They do not understand how to study. And most people don't. I mean, the brain can only process about 5 things at a time. That's why your zip codes are 5 digits. Okay. Yet when you go to school, the teachers are going blah, 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 blah. You're taking him all this homework. You have to memorize. You're making flashcards. It doesn't work. Even practicing, there's a method in practicing that helps. It's all on my website. If anytime, just contact me. I'm here.
How much better can it be to have an open invitation to someone who has spent their entire career in education that is willing to say, talk to me, to ask me what do you perceive is wrong, and I can give you some expert advice as to how to reverse that. In the information that I studied a little about you mentioned something. It popped out on the paper to me. It was called the terrible twos. It was too tired, too overloaded, too much social media, among other things.
Yes. Yeah, the 2 is the TOO.
Right.
And the children are suffering from the terrible 2s because, as I said before, the number of high schoolers I've had that I've met with one-to-one, who parents they're dropping them off for the tutoring, then they're running to soccer, then they're running over there. Remember, one boy walked in one night and he said, "Do you have like a Tylenol or something? My head is killing me. I'm exhausted." I said, "No, go home. Just go home and sleep." I mean, it is what I'm seeing happening to the kids. I think they're too tired. Many of them are too hungry, and they're grabbing candy bars and grabbing other bags of chips, whatever, to keep themselves going. Many of them eat in the car. They eat dinner in the car on their way back and forth to sports and dancing and gymnastics and whatever.
And I would add a word to your list of 2s, and that is they are too distracted.
Oh yeah.
Today, that there are just too many other options for kids today.
Yes.
That's why I said earlier that education has just dropped on that list of priorities.
Yeah.
And if it is elevated to a more prominent place on that list, then I think that they will do better in school, and that will allow them to have a little bit of free time to interact and do all of these other things.
Yeah.
My grandson is in the concert band and the marching band.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
This kid gets up at 6 o'clock in the morning and goes to high school and all to practice first. Then he goes to school all day. Then after school, they go out onto the football field and they practice. He is tied up all week long with band practice. Now, you could say the same thing for students that are in athletics, because they also are practicing all of the time. Now, my grandson is an A student. Why? Because he knows he has to apply himself, and he does. And I think he is the exception and not the rule, that other students that go to school are not involved in any kind of outside activities because they feel like they've got to focus just on their education. And without any extracurricular activities, as you said, the socializing and everything, becomes an issue too, that it has to be a balance. And I will say it again to those that are watching and listening, and you've heard me say this to the point where I'm almost a broken record. If you are not involved in your child's education and upbringing and everything, that child is going to suffer, and you are going to have to take the blame for that. The current book is Why Good Kids Get Bad Grades, and that is the upgrade to your first book, which was Why Bad Grades Happen to Good Kids. Was it the pandemic that really led to that need to rewrite the book and upgrade it to today's environment?
It was the pandemic and social media. Those two things together have changed a lot.
Okay.
The pandemic, there are many, many kids in school struggling right now. And everyone's yelling at them, and you can do better, and why don't you you'll be flipping hamburgers, whatever. They don't have the foundation. They have to get that foundation. And many of them missed it. And then the social media, and especially the girls. The boys are on games. The girls ended up with the social part and nastiness, and those two things changed. They changed things. But kids really, they need the parents with them. They need them to know that they're their ally. So many kids are afraid. My parents going to go ballistic if I get this grade. So parents don't realize it. So sometimes they literally sabotage the child taking a test, because those dendrites are going to shrink out of anxiety. The anxiety is so high in so many children. And that's one of the big issues we address also in this book.
You also developed something called Super Deck card games.
Yes.
And I want you to share with those that are watching and listening a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about the Super Deck and why it was developed.
Okay, I love that. Thank you for asking me that. Those Super Deck card games, as I said, I've been here a very long time. And when you're not in a class of 30, you can focus in on each child and what's happening. And I specialize in dyslexia. And I had a little boy coming into my office, and he said to me, he was 7 years old, and he said, if I have to read or write, I'm not coming in there. And he was 7. So I said to him, would you play a game? And he goes, you're like, what? So he walked in, mom walks away, and I grabbed index cards, literally. This was 40 years ago. I grabbed index cards and I wrote up following, it's called Orton-Gillingham methodology. That's what you use for dyslexia. And I grabbed the cards and I started making card games. By the time mom walked in, she said, Peter ran over and he goes, Mom, look. And he read all the cards. Now, they were 3-letter words, but he read them. And she said, Peter, you learned to read. And he said, Mom, we didn't do any reading. We just played. And these bells went in my head. I have a PhD in counseling. I did my entire doctoral dissertation on the antecedents of self-esteem in children. What creates that feeling of self-worth in a child? Okay, so I took and I started making card games. And then I had all my tutors start using all the card games. And then I followed Orton Gillingham methodology. So I'm now following research, science proven methodology, what we're doing. And I ended up, my husband, he retired, and the two of us just started making cards, and we sell them nationwide. We must have over 200 decks. And it follows exactly how you learn to read. I have fluency, I have decoding, and the kids are playing Go Fish, memory, war. Children are children, no matter whether it was from 200 years ago or it's now, they're children. They want to win, they want to play, and they want to win. I do cheat. I make sure I keep losing. And so, because I want them to get that feeling. And they say to me, every one of them over the years has said, I kind of feel bad that you're not too good at this, but you want me to help you? And because they'll say to me, there's the answer. You look at it and go, no, you're teasing me. They're feeling the anxiety goes down, the focus goes up, and they're practicing. Most children do not practice. Adults don't want to practice, but they'll keep playing. And without knowing it, they're playing Go Fish, they're playing bingo, they're playing. And I set up all 15 different games with each deck. All those little cards he just showed, all those individual decks of 52 cards, each one focusing on a different phoneme. Or I did all the decks on sight words or on grammar or on, I did whatever on the times table, multiplication, fractions. Because when you're playing, how did we all learn about money? We played Monopoly. It was Monopoly.
You're absolutely right. And again, I'm preaching here to those that are watching and listening, and I encourage you to share this program also with your friends and neighbors, and also that they can listen to Dr. Silbert's words. Also, it's certainly possible that you can go out and spend a lot of money on tutors to help your children learn. If you can buy a deck of cards to get your youngster excited about learning and to better their ability to learn, it's a fraction of the cost, and they're having fun. And you want to know something? I said it again. You are interacting with your student, your child, that you're playing the game with them and they're having fun, because you want to know something? The best thing a kid can do is to beat their parent at a game.
They love
that. Elevates their ability. It elevates their psyche to say, hey, I did it. Oh, mom, dad, you didn't get that right. I got it. Yay for me.
Yes. Yeah. And you know how many times they'll say to the mom, let me help you. Let me show you what to do. Or I had a little boy here with his grandma and grandpa, and they were playing, and he was running back and forth. He was 8 years old,
right.
Severe dyslexia. He felt so wonderful, so wonderful. The feeling of self-worth goes up. I'm an important person. I can do this.
Yeah,
and they're playing. It's been amazing.
A very good point. That is a wonderful position for grandparents to be in, interacting with their grandchildren, because if they can play these games that help the child learn something, and it's an experience for the grandparents. Because I got to tell you, I could not sit down with my grandson and work on his geometry or mathematics, or even some of the other things that he is doing, because I just don't understand the way it's being taught today. But to be able to interact in something that is a game, make a game out of it, it becomes more interesting than just page after page of read it, remember it, take a test on it, and then go.
It's been amazing watching what happened. There's something here in New York called BOCES. I know it's in other states, Board of Cooperative Education. And the head of ELA here keeps saying to me, all the districts are buying thousands and thousands of dollars worth of reading programs. You have the solution for $12.95. You buy a deck of cards. You buy a few decks. If you get the assortment, you get they're $10 a deck. And then we go right from the decoding into the fluency, so they can read a sentence. When I move the kids, I said, let's play this deck today. And they pick the game. They'll say, no, I want to play Crazy Eights today. And I go, sure, doesn't matter. They're playing. They're engaged.
And I urge people, if this sounds interesting to you and you've got a third grader that's struggling, get the third grade deck of cards, because I think I could almost put money on the fact that if your third grader gets that deck of cards and really enjoys it, when they go into fourth grade, now get me the fourth grade deck of cards and the fifth grade, because they get used to doing something like that. And if you have you had that feedback that you have, customers and all that will come back each year to increase and move on and help their student. And folks, if you have multiple children, that's a great hand-me-down.
It's a good
Because as your younger child starts to move into the school system, you can just take out that deck of cards and you're already ahead of the game.
Yeah, they have been used. I've had so many of the siblings, they can't wait to start tutoring because they're going to start playing all the games. And I actually don't even go by grade level. It is all by, we have it's called a phonics assessment. It takes 2 minutes. A parent, anyone can just figure out specifically which deck that child needs to begin with. Where's the gap?
Wow.
And you just take that. And then when they play memory, then you go to all the different games. And all of a sudden, you go on to the next one. You say, you know what? You can go on to the next. Now you're going on to the next. It's been an unbelievable thing watching this and watching how it works, because they're playing combined with science-based material. But to them, they don't know the difference. They just know that they can choose the game.
In your experience, is there a certain like age group that is most impressionable and parents should focus in on doing something like this for their children by the time they are what age? Because if you 7 years old, okay.
7 years old is when identity develops.
So we're talking almost about first grade.
First, second grade. When they start, if you notice, children begin it's called pre-operational stage of development. If anyone's listening and they have backgrounds in education, Jean Piaget, you begin 3, 4, 5, it's fantasy. They'll say, Mommy, Daddy, look at, I get the ball in the basket. And they must throw 1,000 times and you're all clapping. It doesn't get in the basket. It doesn't matter. Look how high I can jump.
Right.
Suddenly, when the child turns between 6 and 7, the brain changes slightly. I'm not a neurologist, so I can't tell exactly what happens. But all of a sudden, they're standing and they go into concrete stage of development. They go from pre-operational, which is all fantasy. They then go to concrete. That's when they're ready to read. They're ready to do schoolwork, because now they see everything clear, but everything is black and white. He went first. No, I'm supposed to go next. I'm choosing the game today. It's all very concrete. Some adults stay in it. They never get out of concrete. I hate to say it. But you're trying to help the child now go to formal operational, which is end of teen years, maybe into the early 20s. Fabulous time to be in college, because all of a sudden you go, oh, wait a minute, there's another side to this. Oh, I don't always have to get my way. No, that's okay. Okay, there, you see, during concrete, if you tell the child you can't do that, they're going to start cheating. They're going to, because they see one thing. They see one way. That's concrete stage of development. And it starts around 7. If you don't catch the child in time and help them and let them know, I'm with you, let's figure out what's happening here. The child may have dyslexia. The child may have dysgraphia. Right. Child, who knows? I've had so many children that are slightly hearing impaired, and they were being treated for ADHD. They were being treated for high anxiety. They were missing what was going on. Okay, you have to find out what is wrong. Then start working with that child.
And by the time they get to middle school or high school, if they are still having these issues, you're behind the eight ball.
Behind, starting at 9. If you
Yeah.
wait till 9, 10, all of a sudden they're saying, "Oh, my child's an underachiever," because that child is going to now put that shell around themselves to protect their ego, because they don't know what's happening. They're 10 years old. They don't know what's happening. And the parent has to be the parent.
Stronglearning.com. Visit it, please. And consider getting the cards, consider the book, because I think it would be a valuable resource, not only for your current child, but as your child gets older. And then if you have a second or a third child, it very, very important. You have dedicated your entire life to this. And in under an hour, I hope that we have gotten some people excited about what they can do to motivate themselves to become more active in their child's educational process, because it's only going to make for a better home life for the child and for the parents.
Oh, yeah.
For that interaction.
Yeah.
Dr. Linda, thank you very, very much for taking the time to be with me and to the people that are watching and listening. Again, stronglearning.com. Visit the site. I end my show with Oscar Wilde every episode. Be yourself, because everyone else is already taken. And it's important for people to understand that. And in order to move forward. So I thank all of you for tuning in to this episode. Please share it with your family and your neighbors and your friends and your school boards if you can, because they may be able to learn something from it also. And go out and make it a great week. Come back and visit us again next week. And again, a big, big thank you to my very, very special guest, Dr. Linda Silbert. Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone you should know.